mean, it's interesting that in India, fintech has been, India is one of those few countries where the government has been a disruptor in the fintech space. What we have seen is that the payment play, of course, has been going on for a while and is now less interesting, at least from an investor point of view. The newer sort of fields that you mentioned are definitely a lot more exciting. Lending, I would also sort of characterize that lending can be divided into two different areas, SME lending and consumer lending. SME lending definitely had the first phase of growth. We've seen that with companies like iFinance, SME Corner, Neo Growth. A lot of companies are continuing to grow. But on the consumer lending side, we're still a little bit behind. I think on the lending, we'll probably get a little bit more segmented and more specialized lenders rather than generic lenders, which would be the next phase of growth. Insurtech, of course, is a pretty wide territory in India. Even though we have companies like CoverFox, Policybazaar, it's still, the distribution part of the situation is still not solved. We are a highly underpenetrated country when it comes to insurance policies. And insurance is a pretty key part of, I guess, any financial portfolio. And in this situation, we will see companies like Toffee, which is essentially a new startup that is selling insurance in a contextualized format that is very easy to understand by the first-time insurance buyer. We at Accion are a social impact fund. So we look for both impact returns as well as profitable returns. And from that perspective, at least for us, the fintechs and the insurtechs companies have to have a financial inclusion angle that makes sense. In terms of the market, the way we are looking at it, essentially, it's what we discussed earlier, which is really looking at it in a more specialized format rather than a more generic, any other NBFC lender or any other consumer lending, sort of space. But we're looking at more specialized companies. I don't think the B2C is also fully scaled, so there's a little bit of a disconnect there. India is a pretty vast opportunity, particularly we may have people who have a lot of bank accounts because of Jan Dhan Yojana and a lot of stuff that the government has done, but we don't have enough usage of financial products. So there is still a lot to be done on the B2C side. On the B2B side, what we have seen in India is that the large banks are willing to work and partner with fintechs. This was not the case in the US. It's been unique to India that they came ahead and wanted to collaborate versus where in the US they were a little bit behind the sort of growth curve where India was. Again, that's a very interesting question. I think from us, again, like I said, because we are an impact investor, we look for double bottom line returns. For us, it's really about investing in innovative businesses.